Save this one. Same sort of thing, but let's say we had some outwash soils. So now we have well infiltrating soils. We can't really meet flow duration now because all the soil is being infiltrated and pre-developed. There's nothing really that we can now that we're going to add a bunch of impervious area to our mitigated facility or mitigated scenario, I should say, we're gonna have all this additional runoff. And then with outwash soils that are well infiltrating, we didn't really have that much runoff to begin with. We can't really mitigate it. We can't really meet it in that same sense. So I'm going to select CTAC again. What I also want to show you here is if we go to view options, it'll show you these are the durations. So 50% of the 2-year to the 50-year is what we're trying to meet. It shows you right there. We're going to go to our scenario now, add our land use basin once again, but now I'm looking at my scenario here. We have 3 acres of AB forest flat. So not till forest, we have outwash, well infiltrating soils. Connect to point of compliance. We're going to run this, and then I'm going to show an infiltration scenario here. I'll make sure looks like everyone's questions are being, we have a lot of questions. We'll have some time at the end as well. Of course, I want to remind everyone that this workshop's being recorded, and it'll be posted again, so you'll be able to watch it. You don't need to record or stress about that. All this information will be available after we're done with the workshop. So we ran the pre-developed scenario there. Now let's go to mitigated. And so now on our project site, we've decided to leave 1 acre of our area untouched, just for this project scenario, right? This is just an example. And then we're going to add 2 acres of roads. We're going to connect this to point of compliance here. And I'm going to run the scenario. But because we have such well infiltrating soils, we're not going to be able to meet flow duration by just putting a mitigation facility in. We're going to have to get a little creative. And one of the ways we can do that is by infiltrating 100%. This is assuming that you're allowed to infiltrate, right? Obviously, project constraints are going to change dramatically based on your specific situation. But we're going to assume we're allowed to infiltrate into the soil. Disconnect POC. Now what we're going to do, we're going to use our hydro store chamber again. Connect there. Now what I'm intending to do here is actually infiltrate 100%. So I'm going to connect to point of compliance. I'm going to use quick chamber. This, like I said, this is just filling in values. So this is not, but this is what I'm going to use as my starting point per se, and then kind of modify it from there. So I'm going to turn infiltration on now. So notice it was off before. We weren't infiltrating with the other scenario because you can't really infiltrate into, till or hard soils, or we can just say it wasn't allowed on our previous project. Let's be generous. Let's say our measured infiltration rate is 5 inches per hour. That's what geotech, whoever was doing the test, we've determined 5 inches per hour. We're going to using a reduction factor of 2. And then for a couple modifications for this infiltration scenario, we're going to not have an orifice. And then we're going to have a flat riser type for this one. So now I just want to see, if I run this scenario, what the percent infiltrated is going to look like. So if we run it here, it'll tell us the total volume infiltrated, volume of the riser facility, and then the percent infiltrated. Now we just have a 200 by 200 facility. Will this work? Maybe. Is it too big? Well, we're going to find out. So this is kind of the trial and error process you have to go through. Yeah, so some people had questions about the orifice. The design engineer will need to evaluate the constructability of the orifice. Yes, so that's what Joe has to say about that. Okay, so we got 100% infiltrated with this facility. Great. That probably means we can make this smaller. So we can then, using our engineering judgment, maybe change the road length, the number of chambers, and run the scenario again. And so this is sort of the trial and error process that you have when running an infiltration facility. We know that in wwhm, the standard elements allow you to auto size to an infiltration, right? To an infiltration target. For commercial elements and something like Principal Hydro Store, you're going to have to use some engineering judgment to determine how you want to get that 100% infiltrated. But the good part is the software, these runs are pretty quick, and you can determine, okay, hey, we're still infiltrating 100%. Maybe you could select, maybe a better chamber model would now fit this scenario, and you could maybe change the chamber model that you're using. Well, it's going to be back to Let's try 100, 100. Okay, so we're reducing our footprint here on this project because it's doing a real efficient job at infiltrating. Okay, so we're still getting 100%, right? So we could continue with this process, or you could even switch up the chamber model if you'd like. Let me see what the HS75, maybe that will work. Maybe that's a chamber size that will work, right? So this is kind of where your engineering judgment kicks in, where you decide what kind of facility you need to use for your scenario here. While that's going on, maybe we can adjust some of the questions. So someone asked, aren't the correction factors from wash data or the Department of Ecology a fraction? Yes, they are. So it is a fraction, but then we put it in the model as above 1, and then it now becomes a fraction.
Oh, Joseph?
Yeah.
No, it should be input
Okay.
as a fraction.
As a fraction. Okay.
All other, this is a new element. All other elements don't allow you to enter the value greater than 1. That check hasn't been put in for this particular
Okay.
element, so that's
Yeah, so
something that will be fixed in the future.
okay, so it would be put in as 0.5 or something, right? Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, no, that was my error. Thank you for pointing that out. Yes, so it'll go in as 0.5. So let's run this again then in light of that. Sometimes I get that mixed up in my head. So it says if you're infiltrating, do you need to run a pre-development scenario? That I guess that depends on oh, hold on, let's look. So yeah, so the facility wasn't big enough, so we need to increase the size of the facility there. But everyone sort of gets the idea when it comes to modeling with infiltration. So we still are meeting our 100% target there. But that is, we're trying to outline, right? We can't exactly match your project situation there, but that is the intent and the process when we're modeling with infiltration. Yeah, make sure you use a fraction there with that reduction factor. So those are two different modeling scenarios, which I'll go back to our slides in a second. Those are two different modeling scenarios using chamber elements, one where you can use it to meet the flow duration just directly, and then another one for using it to infiltrate 100%, right? And then meet the flow duration that way. Because we had outwash soils, right, we weren't able to use it in the same sort of typical way. So those are two different modeling scenarios there. So, okay, everyone should be able to see the presentation, right? So you can download that wwhm 2012 link that was in the chat there if you would like to also model with that Principal Hydrostore chamber element. So this is just outlining, hey, we met the flow control standard. It failed before without the facility, and now